There we go. Okay. Managing agents, friend, foe, or other. It seems that landlords can't live with them, but can't live without them. I've got to admit, I've got limited experience of managing agents in terms of devolving management to them. But in my experience, it's generally not been particularly good. It's been a very unsatisfactory arrangement. So we're going to look at issues and challenges regarding working with managing agents and how to build better and more positive relationships with them. And we'll have a look at the regulation of managing agents that's coming through from Lord Best's regulation of property agents recommendations. The report came out, I think, just over a year ago. It was last summer. So we'll have a look at that. Okay, what is a managing agent? It's a company appointed by the landlord to run and manage the building and services. Normally they'll collect service charges from leaseholders in accordance with the terms of the lease, and the charges will include management fees, which are their fees for the service. This is usually only a very small element of the total service charge. And I think while we're talking about what is a managing agent, I think we were gearing the workshop to managing agents acting for landlords, for local authorities, housing associations, etc. But I think what Angela mentioned earlier is quite valid. You have experience of managing agents acting for your leaseholders when subletting properties. And so I think that's a very, very valid angle to look at as well. So what does a managing agent do? They should manage the property in accordance with the terms of the lease and statutory requirements on behalf of their client. The role requires knowledge of landlord and tenant law, although in my experience quite often that's quite a sketchy knowledge. Managing agent I had dealings with recently didn't seem to realise that the Section 20 regulations had changed many years ago. They should be aware of building construction, health and safety regulations, accounting, and much more. There are benefits of professional management, and the services provided by a management agent will be covered within the management agreement. The duties of a management agent are based on contract, not legislation, and the agreement will cover the duties the client has asked the managing agent to perform. Who appoints a managing agent? Well, the managing agent will be appointed by the person or company who has legal responsibility for the delivery of services. But of course, as Angela mentioned earlier, it could be your leaseholders appointed a managing agent to look after the property for them. Flat owners may acquire management responsibility through acquisition of the freehold. And you may have had experiences where a group of leaseholders exercise their right to enfranchisement and then appoint a managing agent to manage the building. And if you've had to do a lease back of any tenanted properties, then you've got to have dealings with a managing agent on behalf of your tenants. They could exercise, if you're not a local authority, your leaseholders could exercise right to manage through a right to manage company, and then they may delegate the management to a managing agent. Management fees are the fees paid to managing agents or to the landlord for the services they provide in managing a building, usually a small element of service charge. Leaseholders might want to see a basic summary of the contractual terms and duties that the managing agent provides to the client. So what duties might a managing agent provide? Financial, opening, handling bank accounts, ensuring these are held in client bank accounts, preparation of an annual budget for service charges, billing and collection of service charges, provision of a periodic budget report of income, expenditure, cash flow to the client, preparation of service charge year-end accounts, preparation of a reserve fund for future major works and maintenance where the lease allows, arrears collection and management, checking, allocating invoices, paying contractors, reconciling bank accounts, and of course relationships with leaseholders, attending to routine inquiries from leaseholders and residents, responding to solicitors and leaseholders' inquiries, regarding assignments and licenses, lease compliance, ensuring compliance with the terms of the lease and policy agreed, representing the landlord in court, arbitration, tribunal hearings, management of reserve funds. There's a lot of ding-donging going on. I'm not sure quite what that is. Dealing with day-to-day repairs, maintenance of the property, preparation of maintenance plans and contracts for plant and machinery, preparing and monitoring major works not covered by annual contracts, and dealing with Section 20 consultations, liaising with specialist contractors. So, what issues do we have with the managing agent sector? Well, there's often a lack of clarity about the services provided. If you're not careful, you could find you've got very, very vague management agreements. Quite often you'll struggle to find the management agreement the organisation has entered into, if one indeed exists. Customers are unclear about who does what. Scale of charges are often not transparent to leaseholders. They're not sure what they're paying for. Charges sometimes are high for seemingly little work. Percentage charges on major works. Were those works required, or are they proposed to fee owner? And often I think there's a lack of knowledge and skills. To be a good agent requires a varied skill set and a knowledge base which needs to be underpinned by qualifications. And I think the issue which is facing the industry at the moment is the managing agent industry is currently unregulated. So the leasehold reform agenda that's floating around Parliament and elsewhere at the moment has highlighted issues with managing agents, which led to Lord Best's report, which was published July last year. And a summary of Lord Best's recommendations are as follows. A new independent regulator to oversee a new regulatory regime for property agents. That new regime is to be binding on companies and certain individuals that are acting as intermediaries for property transactions. Those regulated are to be licensed by the new regulator. The new regulator will be responsible for an overarching statutory code of practice with modules binding on agents depending on their area of work. For the new regulator to be responsible for the syllabus for a modular approach to qualifications required for individuals within regulated companies, allowing agents to become proficient in those aspects of property agent work as suits the needs of their role and career, subject to minimum requirements on those carrying out restricted activities. And for the new regulators sit at the heart of a system of enforcement and redress, which takes on at their discretion the support of national and local trading standards, of redress schemes and of professional bodies. So that's a summary of issues that have been thrown up. Over to you. What experience have you had with managing agents, good or bad? Action you've had to take to overcome those issues? Who'd like to start? Can't see any hands up. No, no. Has anybody any experience of managing agents? Angela.
I'll help you, John. Yeah, we don't really have managing agents at CHP because we're the landlord ourselves, so we tend to manage it mainly ourselves. But you know, I do have sometimes as working in a leasehold coordinator, I do have issues when trying to make contact to get into a property. You know, and it's we have our contract is with the leaseholder. Should we then be going to their managing agent? Should we be liaising with the tenant? It's always a bit of a grey area. I think if we have the leaseholder's permission, then you know it's worthwhile building up that relationship with that management company, because you can get a lot from them and you can work together well. But that's really my experience.
Yeah, I agree. I've had issues with managing agents acting for leaseholders, some good, some bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be helpful in terms of gaining access. If a leaseholder lets a property directly, sometimes it's really, really difficult. A managing
Yeah.
agent,
Tell me about it.
yeah, managing agent can help. Anybody else like to throw in two penneth? Yeah, Eunice.
Hi, how are you doing? Yeah, Eunice here from Optivo. Yeah, we've got a number of managing agents with our portfolio, and I can see one of the main problems we have is when we ask for service charge breakdown, and we really just have to chase and chase. And as you know, we've got lease with our leaseholders, and if they don't receive the breakdown within the time frame, they may just end up issuing with the proceeding against us in tribunals, and we just have really always have to refer to the management agreement, which we cannot even find sometimes, which is really hard to locate, especially if managing agents have changed. And so the issue the lady just mentioned a minute ago about access, I noticed that a couple of managing agents do refuse to speak to shared owners. Unless you are a leaseholder 100%, they would speak to you. If you are shared owners, you will say you're right, you go to the association, and we do that way. And I could not find anything in the management agreement to say that they refuse to speak to, especially if they're just asking for basic requirement, like a fob, or there is leak between two flats, or even an emergency. So they just refuse to speak to them. This no, you go to the association first, and they will come to us. So these are the two main issues really we are facing with the managing agent. I mean, I can't go, the list is quite long if I can, but I might just try to find other examples. But these two, service charge and access, and obviously speaking to our residents, there are issues.
So are you saying, Eunice, that where you've got two shared owners,
yeah,
and because obviously you're still the freeholder and your name's probably on everything, is that the reason why they won't speak to your shared owners?
No, we're not the freeholder. We've just got the head lease. So you've got the freeholder, or you've got the managing agent on their behalf,
right.
and you've got So because they are shared owners, they are like sub-lessee to us. They wouldn't speak to them, even though they manage the whole building. They do everything on that block, and as such, even just like a basic request, I was just asking for a fob, an additional fob, or there is issues with the lift or maintenance problem. They said they have to come to us first, and we speak. But if you are 100%, if your staircase 100%, they will speak to you.
That's probably because they've then got that person's, because that person's kind of equal with you then, isn't it? And they've got all their details.
Yes.
Perhaps they don't have their details, and that's the reason why.
But just as they don't. I mean, it's details. I mean, they do have, because we have given them a list of every single person who lives in that block, and I'm just showing some courtesy. I'm not saying they just have to do everything for them. They're not asking for like an application to do improvements or sublets, or we deal with that directly, or consent.
Yeah.
But in terms of just giving basic service to those residents. Because pretty much they are really complaining about them, and I've never raised a formal complaint against the managing agent, but just asked the director to address it because it's causing concern to our residents, that they feel like they've been segregated.
Mm-hmm. How long's that contract for? When's it up?
I cannot tell you. That is one of the problems, locating the management agreements.
If you can find a management agreement, quite often you'll find that it's long since expired. Nobody's thought that it needs to be renegotiated or renewed, or you might even take the management back in-house if it's possible, depending on your situation. I have worked in a couple of organisations where we found it's an arrangement that started many years ago, and then has just carried on and carried on.
And sorry, just I don't know if you guys have ever experienced the issue with the FRI when you request the FRI, especially now with cladding situation. When it transpired that the managing agent or the freeholder are responsible for the external wall system, and you ask, because as you know, our leaseholder wants a staircase or remortgage or sell, and they cannot do that, and we are chasing them to carry out the intrusive survey and get this EWS1 as soon as possible, but you don't get much response. Yeah, it's really, really difficult. We got like a couple of schemes we were encountering few problems with them with regard to the cladding situation.
You want to start getting them to do the, what is it, the EWS
Yeah,
inspection?
they
They'll
need
soon start moving or talking to you then, because those cost an awful lot of money, don't they?
Yes, yeah, and as you know, all lenders now, regardless of the heights of the building, they wouldn't lend any money unless they have that EWS1 certificate.
Well, I kind of disagree a little bit there with some lenders. I haven't had many people, not many of the lenders for our open market sales have requested that. I've had one, and actually that was this week.
Okay.
But I mean, we haven't got anything over. We've only got one tower block. Everything else is only about 4 stories. That's the most we have. So we've got nothing over 18 meters. So,
Yeah.
so
I mean, even under 18 meters now is all heights. They're not really excluding that. All heights, even under 18 meters, they're expecting to have the AWS1. And and it's holding up our resales team. They're just struggling, and a lot of reason cannot remortgage. Yeah.
Okay. What's anybody else's experience of that? There were quite a lot this morning. Hannah.
I work over at Asta. We have a lot of experience with managing agents on Section 106 sites. We're doing quite a lot of development, and which is attracting a lot of managing agents, and very similar to Eunice's experience. Not willing to speak to any shared owners, very much along the lines of our relationship is with you, it's not with them, which can be quite frustrating for us and our residents. And just recently we've been having conversations with one agent where they are unclear as to what their responsibility is on the site, and have very kindly been quite poorly maintaining an area that was actually transferred to us during the conveyance process. And yeah, just having very interesting conversations with them around putting them right about what they should be looking after and what they should be leaving for us to do. And yeah, I think previously we've been a bit sort of like, oh God, they're the pain in the bum, but we've tried a different tact with let's be friends and see how we get on with them with a different tact. And it has been quite interesting. They have been definitely much more amenable with that process. And I think it's been quite eye-opening for me in that actually the information that they've been given has been a bit shoddy and has led to this situation where they have been unclear as to what they should be looking after. But yeah, our involvement is on a lot of 106 sites. And we just see them becoming more and more on our sites as well as we start to take on more new development.
Yeah. Anyone else? This was a subject that was actually put forward by members, so I'm a bit surprised that there's.
I think from our side of things, it's that kind of like frustration around what do you do with them when you encounter problems, and how kind of heavy do you get, and what recall is there on them. And I think that for us is where we're at the moment. We want to start challenging them more.
I've sent you.
I'm not quite sure on the way in which we should be doing it, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think it's very difficult. It's horses for courses at the moment, really, isn't it? Because the industry is unregulated, and management agreements quite often are very, very vague. It's difficult to know quite how to deal with an agent that just is not performing. What about, Angela, you mentioned agents acting for your leaseholders. What issues have you come across there?
I think they've been polar opposite, to be quite honest. Some have been really good. You know, you get onto them and they are just boom, 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 and sorted everything, and it's brilliant. And you know, I've got good relationships built up. Others have been quite pants. You know, they haven't taken, you know, responsibility. You're forever chasing them. I'm quite lucky because a lot that I've got really good relationships with the leaseholders that sublet, and in the past I've always said, well, you know, you're the one that's got the contract with your management company. We haven't got a contract with your management company. If you choose to have somebody manage it, then it's down to you to get them to work for you. It's not my job to be getting them to work for you. So and also I think you should always be highlighting any issues to the leaseholder. They should know what's going on in their property. It could be to do with some work that needs to be done, and if they're kept out of the loop, then bills turn up, then they'll say, well, I didn't authorize this. So you have to be a little bit careful, because you don't know exactly what the contract between them and their managing agent is. So but yeah, we're really lucky we don't have big issues. We don't have a lot of leaseholders who have a managing agent working for them, just some.
Yeah, I mean, I think an area that I've had difficulty with in the past is antisocial behaviour. And getting a managing agent to deal with that, it's just almost impossible. Sorry.
Yeah. No, with ASB, we put the onus on the leaseholder.
Yeah.
Because straight away, when that leaseholder's advised us that they are subletting, we tell them straight, you are responsible for your tenants' behaviour and any of their visitors. You know, and if they put you in breach of your lease, then we unfortunately will have to come down on you. We do liaise with our ASB team, with the tenant, because that tenant is the, you know, it could be the provider of evidence. You know, so we do, but we really do involve the leaseholder. Even if they do say they have a managing agent, you know, they should still be aware of what's going on.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, as there seems to be very, very little appetite for discussing managing agent, I'm just going to throw it open now to any issues that anybody's got, any questions. You've got a number of probably about a dozen or more of your peers here ready to help and assist. So anyone with any questions at all?
I'm gonna start a subject for you, John. Actual service charge statements, they must have all gone out. Have yours all gone out kind of quite recently?
Yeah, we issued ours mid-August this year. So
they've not got long to do it.
So Hannah, when you send yours out, do you literally just send out kind of a statement which shows maybe some tables with an adjustment that you've had? No, that's your estimates. No, just your showing your estimates and then your actuals, and then the differences, and advise that difference is going to be carried forward to next year. Do you also provide quite detailed breakdowns of things as well at that first period?
We aren't, no. We've been, over the last couple of years, we have been kind of changing and fine-tuning and tinkering with the information that we're sending out to customers, because we, like many people, are issuing to a whole ream of different calibre of customer, rented, extra care schemes, leaseholders, freeholders, every man and his dog. And we had previously been providing quite detailed tables to customers, and it had just been blowing people's minds.
Yeah.
So we've really stripped it back and just providing, just like you said, quite a basic table of this was your estimate, the actual and the difference now.
Yeah.
We've been adding in frequently asked questions just to try and help people understand what the heck it is that we're sending to people, because we find that every year we get the same questions. What the hell is this you've sent me? I don't understand what you've sent me.
Yeah.
We've done that this year as well. And we have, as I say, ours went out mid-August, and we are just coming to the end of inquiries that we've had through from customers, and we have seen a lot of the what is this you've sent me disappear this time. So I don't know whether that is, you know, as a result of our FAQs. I'm hoping that it might be.
Yeah.
We do get those customers that want a bit more info, and that's absolutely fine. You know, we all have them, probably all know who they are in advance of them even asking for that info. But yeah, we are just providing that basic table to customers.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting to know. Thanks. Yeah, because we do pretty much the same. I think the one element that is always questioned is our repairs.
Yeah.
Because, you know, as we all know, we can't foresee what repairs are needed on a block. So we estimate, we literally just pull a figure out and estimate on put that down. And as we all know, it could treble, the actual could treble. So at that point we do, you know, that's where all the questions are asked. And then we do provide a breakdown of those repairs once asked. But there's an awful lot of work in providing all that detail up front, when, as we know, it's just a very, very small percentage of our leasehold customers that actually ask for more detail. Usually they just, the larger percentage just get on with it, don't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've recently launched a customer portal, and this year we have uploaded all of our service charge statements onto that portal, so customers who are registered can, you know, because everybody seems to lose everything that you send them, they file it in an important place. So we've uploaded those statements onto our portal, so customers can access those later on. And what we're also looking to do as we move forward is to provide people with a bit more access to information via their portal for their block. So going forward, they will be able to see block repairs that were done on their properties. They will be able to access FRA certificates and things like that. So we're hoping that by doing that and making that information accessible, we will again cut out some of those queries from customers about, can I have this, that and the other?
When I was at Barnet, we set up a portal for customers, and for leaseholders it would have their last estimate, a breakdown of the last actual, and they could gain access to information about block and estate repairs, whether they've been ordered, whether they've been completed, information about their account status, so they could see what their account balance was. And also it enabled them to contact us as well. There was a very simple contact on it. In terms of what we used to send out, we developed a booklet rather than send separate sheets of paper with, you know, the estimate and then summary of rights and obligations. We collated into a booklet, and we had a different colour for an estimate and a different colour for the actual, so they could tell which was which, and that was really, really successful. I haven't got a copy here, but after the break I'll go and get one and try and show you what it looked like. The idea was to future-proof it, because it was produced as a PDF, and we were looking forward to the day when we might be able to send them electronically. Quite what it looks like now, because they've replaced the computer system, I've got absolutely no idea. It's probably gone backwards, but
and I mean, that any information that helps, you know, with clarity, etc., is always really good. I mean, we're trying to do away with paper stuff, and you know, so having maybe a glossary on the portal with, you know, your insurance summary of cover, you know, and the FRA and the asbestos reports and all of these things that that they would need would be really, really useful. you have to be careful that you're not doing yourself out of money for when they want a leasehold pack, because obviously all that information is just going to be there to go bump, bump, bump. But and then you do yourself out of a job. So
yeah. Well, looking at the day when the amount you can charge for a pre-assignment pack is going to be limited. It's not a bad idea, really, is it?
Exactly.
No. The other thing we've done with our portal as well is that we have included, so everybody can go in and see what their current charges are, and they're able to click on the description that we've used for the various different services being delivered, and it will provide them with a bit more of a detail as to what that service actually is. Because that was one thing we were finding. Last year we sent everybody a bit of a booklet on these are the headings we use and this is what they mean. And we got a lot of kickback from people saying, I don't get this service, why have you sent me this, and all of that malarkey. So we've now, via our portal, can see exactly what the services are, click on the heading, what their description is, and they can understand that a bit more. And that has significantly cut down queries, because we were getting a lot of what does grounds maintenance mean, what does everything like that, and that's really been quite useful, I think, to customers.
That's really quite modern. That's good. I mean, we provide that as a sheet of paper to explain everything, because they say, well, CHP's management fee, why is that what do we get for that? Well, you get me talking to you, you get me trying to help you with all your issues and that, and we know what it is. So it just we have that on paper. But I really like that idea. Just click on it, and that the explanation, the detail comes up. Yeah,
I think it's nice to be transparent. But do you really find that way you are challenged sometimes by certain expenditures, particularly with repairs? Do you get challenged about that at all?
Oh God, big time.
Yeah. I mean, especially,
a few years ago, I saw an actual service charge from a North London borough, and I won't name them, and it went into real detail. And my thoughts were, I think this leaves you open to so many challenges, because there's just too much detail in it. How much the residents' newsletter cost, how much it costs to, pick up roaming dogs from the estate, and it was really detailed. And people are just going to say, well, I don't get that, or I don't want it.
Yeah, but do you find that when people's council tax bill lands on their doormat, do they phone up the council and ask for a breakdown, an explanation of all those elements within it? They don't, do they?
People then tend not to argue too much about council tax, because you can be thrown in jail for not paying it.
We can't do that anymore.
No, we can't.
Be nice.
In some cases it would be, yes. Yeah. We've actually had a question here from Stacey from Leicester City Council about managing agents, funny enough, but I'll just run through it. We have several leaseholders who have managing agents to manage their properties. However, one in particular has a property that has been left empty for some time while building work is being carried out. They've left the property unsecured, and we have drug users entering the property and leaving rubbish and paraphernalia. We've written to the managing agent but received no response. Can you offer any advice, please? Should this matter be referred to private sector housing, or should we pursue under the terms and conditions of the lease? Thank you, Stacey. I think, well, personally, I'd be thinking about going directly to the leaseholder under the terms of the lease. Anybody else?
Yeah, 100%. I'd agree with that.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, we've actually had something similar, and it did turn into a bit of an ASB, but all the communication was through the leaseholder, and the leaseholder would then speak to the managing agent. Managing agent would be included in all the communication, but we wouldn't go to him. We would definitely go to the leaseholder. And that's how we resolved the issue in the end.
The other issue I'd raise is, do they have a mortgage? Because I'd be tempted to write to the mortgage lender as well, copy them in, and threaten to make an application to the FTT for a breach of the lease.
Yeah.
It looks like you've got pretty good evidence, and the lender would soon tell their customer to sort things out.
Mhm.
Stacey, was that helpful? Are you still there, Stacey? Because you're muted.
Hi, I sure am. Yes, thank you. That was really useful. Sorry. I didn't even think about contacting the mortgage lender, but that is something definitely that I will do now. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, on a slightly different subject, but we had a leaseholder in Barnet that owned about 13 of our properties. They were all in a particular area because it was near Middlesex University. They're all sublet tenants, and obviously they were sort of HMOs really. So we asked him to provide us with the fire risk assessment, which he didn't. So we made application to the FTT, or LVT as it was then, sent a copy to the lender, and we got the fire risk assessments back within a couple of weeks. It was no problem. It's quite clearly a breach of the lease to put the insurance at peril. And I spoke to our insurance people, and they said, well, if this is the case, we would withdraw cover because you haven't got that fire risk assessment. Quite clearly, it's required in those. Your leaseholder is the responsible person. And yeah, the lender, the thought of them losing their investment, they sorted it out in no time at all.
That's brilliant. Thank you ever so much. Thank you.
They can really, really be your ally in these situations.
Nice one. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else with anything else at all? Come on, there must be somebody. By the way, you're all on mute, so if you're trying to talk to me, you've got to unmute first. No?
I have something else. I have just a bit of a general thing, really. We are currently considering taking on some additional members of staff, specifically looking after managing agents. Does anybody else have that kind of setup where they just have specific team members just looking after them, or is it just a part of everybody else's job? I don't know whether it's worth doing or not, to be honest.
It depends of if you got the stock. I mean, if those high profile schemes, yes. But in terms of our stock, we just the property manager deal with them directly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think just on another general point, not all the managing agents are that bad. Honestly, we really have some brilliant managing agents, deal with us, keep us informed all the time, and they're brilliant. I never had any complaint about them. We just had a few on our books, which I don't know about you guys. Do you have like sort of meetings, like monthly or quarterly meetings with managing agents at all? Does anyone have that?
No.
I mean, with only one managing agent, we do like a monthly because they are part of large. Is like a village development. We do have like a monthly meeting with them virtually and just see what's happening in that village, basically development. Only one, but the rest we don't. Maybe something we may suggest in the future. Yeah.
We've got I've got kind of two things. There's the managing agent that would look after a property or a building, and then what we class as an external management company that has adopted the estate, because obviously the local authorities no longer do that. Is this what you're referring to, Hannah? Maybe that?
Yeah, I mean, we've got
that
quite...
because if it is, then I truly believe that it would be great to have a couple of people doing that, because you will make sure that you're charging the right things, because those bills come in from those external management companies. And unless you've got teams on the ground or you've got dedicated person looking at those bills, how do you actually know that you're going to be charging your leaseholders the right amount, or that they're doing what they're saying they're doing? And I really think I think it's only going to grow and grow and grow. You're going to keep on developing, I'm sure, and you're going to have so many that one person or that neighbourhood team, they can't look after that. And I truly believe it needs to have a dedicated team or a couple of people.
And that's where we're at. We've got a lot of, like you say, the external ones. We've got a lot of those on our books, and at the moment we have just been paying invoices and just to get them paid and all of that malarkey. And for our property managers, there just isn't the capacity to be able to be checking them in detail to make sure we're paying what we should be, they're doing what they should, and everything like that. So I think, and we've come across a few that have been brought to our attention, and we can see that they're wrong. And our thinking now is, if we've got these few that are wrong, we suspect that there is more out there. And actually, to be able to give it the time that it needs and the momentum of chasing and all of that kind of thing, actually, we need to have a bit of a dedicated resource to do that, because otherwise it's just going to be neglected, and we're going to get exactly, and we're going to get ourselves into a pickle, and we're just going to encounter problems as we come down the line later.
You'd probably over time that those posts pay for themselves, because
to look
at service charges that managing agents produce. I'm sure they'd find all sorts of things that are paid charge. When I was at a large North London housing association a few years ago, all of the managing agent service charges that came in were just paid. Nobody checked. There were no checks at all, and some of them were huge. And there was one point when various people were on leave, and I was asked to authorise them. I just refused. No, I'm not going to. I don't know what they are. Unless somebody can tell me they're okay, I'm not going to do it. But they're threatening to take us to court. I said, well, let them then. And then they'll have to produce evidence of what they are. But no, I'm not going to do it. But I do think over time, those posts would pay for themselves. And after a while, I think you probably get to the stage where the managing agent would learn that you're not just going to pay without any challenge, and would start to change. But you just need to put that resource in, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Let me know how it goes on, how you get on with it.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah.
Kerry, did you want to speak?
I was going to say, hi, I'm Kerry, I'm from Catalyst Housing Group. So back in January, I was employed to basically do that role. So I was employed as a service charge project officer to basically manage and look at the invoices for the managed agents that were incoming. Unfortunately, because of COVID and other staff problems, I haven't been able to get into the role yet, and I've been dealing with the estimates and the reconciliations. But hopefully, towards the end of the year, I can get back into it. So that's something we have done at Catalyst. We've introduced that role. I'm the only one in that role at the moment. Obviously, if it's successful, we're hoping to branch out and get some more people in. For that reason, we had ones where we had invoices that the same. They're paying them, but no one was checking them. And they weren't being found, so a lot of people were finding it, but people who were, approving the invoices as such were saying that doesn't quite look right. And then they throw them in our direction and say, can you just look at this a bit more further? So that's why in our department, we've decided that we actually need some dedicated people to look at them. I mean, there was one for a playground, which is £14,000 a year to look after a playground, and we're challenging that now because of very, very extortionate amount for looking after a playground.
I think they need to have more challenges.
Yeah, you're dropping out, unfortunately, Kerry. Okay, it's 10 to 11. Should we stop for a comfort break and a coffee now? And then if we can come back at about 11, I'll open up the session to just anything once again. So, in 10 minutes?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Okay, right. So we're back, and it's really over to you. Anything and everything. Any questions you've got? Anything you want to say? Get off your chest. Come on, somebody's got something. How is everybody coping with working from home and the pandemic? Is it working?
Yes, it's working very well.
Yeah, we're getting on fine.
I love it, but I'm used to working from home, so it's not a problem for me.
No, it's not working for me. Sorry.
No, you don't like it.
I would not. I like the balance. Yeah, I really cannot. Like, I'm working like 12 hours a day now. Before I used to get to the office at 8:30, leave at 4:30. I commute, get the train. Now, I really, this is down to me anyway as town management, but the workload have increased significantly. I feel like I get up at 7 o'clock, start work at 7:30, 7:45, and finish like after 6. Yeah, and the workload, not just for myself, for everyone within the organisation, have really, really increased. We don't know, maybe at least how does are working from home. They've got more access to computers sitting there, and they are monitoring the schemes, and the amount of complaints. So the amount of complaints we're dealing with, it just hit the roof. Personally, I'm dealing with like 2-3 complaints a week.
Really?
Need
In
to
terms of
then,
working,
don't you?
so in terms of working from home, yes, it's really nice. Obviously, in terms of saving money, commuting and that, but it just in terms of being more active, I don't feel really I'm being active. Even I'm looking at my face now, look at my double chin.
Has anyone encountered any issues in dealing with leaseholders that have been made more difficult by current working arrangements? I mean, I'm just thinking of, for example, Section 20. If you're serving a Section 20 notice and someone's to come in and inspect the tender documentation, what do you do?
We're not doing any major works at the moment, so we're all right.
At Barking, they're starting to mobilise the major work, so we've had to start doing it. We were in the middle of an OJU procurement for repairs and maintenance, and also one for insurance. So we've had to be able to invite people to inspect. So what we did was we set up a web page that was password protected, so we could allow leaseholders to inspect stuff online. And we just made an arrangement for anyone. Well, we made the offer. Nobody had taken it up, but we made the offer that anybody who wanted to inspect stuff in person would be by appointment only at the town hall, and they'd have to go to the side door, ring a bell, and they'd just be shown to a room. It would all be, socially distanced. They'd be shown to a room, they'd be sat down at a desk, they could look at it on a computer, and then it'd all be sanitised afterwards, but nobody took us up on that. A few people looked at stuff online, but obviously didn't understand a repairs and maintenance schedule of rates. So, but it was the only way we could do it, really.
We've been doing ours all electronically, but we had before anyway. We've got quite dispersed stock, so it's not near any of our offices. I think the team that I work in, we're just a service charge team. So I think other than the being trapped at home constantly, they've adjusted to it quite well now, and are sort of like buckling in for the long haul, really. I think we're going to be at home for what feels like forever now.
Well, it makes no difference to me because I'm consultant now, but I know I'm doing some work at Barking and Dagenham, and they basically are turning most people into just full-time home workers now. They don't returning them to the office. It's been 6 months, and they've got through it, and suddenly they've realised actually we don't need all this office accommodation. What can we do with it?
Yeah, I think we'll end up the same. Everybody has been at home since March, and similar sorts of questions are being asked for us. Do we need these offices in these places any longer? We're managing, all right. So do we still need it? So yeah, interesting times.
It's one of those things where you have to toss up with getting the work done, being safe, and also everybody's well-being as well. That comes into it. So I would assume that lots of companies have kind of upped their game with well-being and surveys and questions and everything, well-being.
Yeah, Yeah.
Interesting question about you serving your notices, your Section 20 notices. Are you still able to send them by mail, by post?
Yeah, well, we use an external organisation, so basically it's just sent electronically to them, and then they print envelope and dispatch them. I mean, there are quite a few firms doing that, and they're usually very, very good.
Yeah, our cleaning contract is coming up for tender over the new year. We'll start the process, so that should be interesting because that's a biggie. So.
Yeah, we were in the midst of doing our grounds maintenance contract for the group, and we did put that on hold because we had wanted to do, some customer face-to-face consultations, site visits and things like that. So we have put that on hold. But now we have revisited it and thinking actually we need to crack on with it. So we are going to have to rethink what our plan was for consulting with those customers and getting them involved with site visits and stuff like that. But we use an external mailing company like John does, so yeah, that side of things hasn't been a problem.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's useful to know.
Does that work for your standard post as well, Hannah?
It does now. Before lockdown, we were just starting to. We were a few months away from all of our standard post going through an external mailing company. As soon as lockdown happened, that was dramatically brought forward, and within a week we were all set up with all posts now going through this external mailing company. We've been using them for quite a long time anyway, doing Section 20s, rent increase letters, service charge statements. So we had a really good relationship with them. And yeah, it's gone pretty well, really. Everybody was all trained electronically on how to use it, and it's been pretty good, really.
Who do you use?
Oh God, what are they called? I've had an email from them today about something. Let me see what their name was. It is Integrity Print.
All right, not heard of them.
Yeah, so we are using them. So yeah, really good. Yeah, had no problems with them whatsoever.
Anything else cropped up that's either been difficult or has worked better during time working from home? No. I mean, do any of you ever have, certainly for Major Works, any sort of surgeries or public meetings, and what are you doing now?
Yeah, we would do. They're being turned into virtual meetings, so we're Zoom calling with people that want to get involved in a meeting.
How's that going?
All right, I think people are used to doing it with their friends and families anyway. One thing we are sort of giving consideration to, and we're not quite sure what to do, is we would normally do residents meetings with our sheltered and our extra care schemes around service charge time of years, to have that face-to-face all together conversation. So we didn't do it with our statements, and we've kind of winged it a little bit and got by with not having too many queries, but we want to try and revisit it for budget time and rent increase time, and we're not quite sure really what the heck we're going to do. Not all of them are set up to be able to do a Zoom call, so we're not quite sure how that's going to work yet, but yeah, anybody's got any ideas as to what they're doing, then
for a different client, I've got a mediation coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm representative, I'm not mediating, and that's going to be interesting because the mediator's got to deal with about half a dozen leaseholders plus ourselves, and it's going to be difficult because clearly you've got to have some private sessions, so you've got to be really but you don't let the other side listen in. I'm glad I'm not actually doing the mediating because it'd be really quite tricky. But I'm quite pleased about it because otherwise I'd have had to travel down to Bracknell in Berkshire for 2 days, and it's about a 3.5 hour journey each way. So I'd much rather be doing it electronically. Okay, come on, all you people that haven't had a word to say yet, I'm sure you've got some things that you can contribute in terms of what's working during lockdown. No?
I
Yeah.
I do have something that's not to do with kind of working during lockdown or anything like that. It's just
Anything.
yeah, really something that I just think it'd be useful to hear other people's views on about the government's publication regarding reviewing the liabilities on shared ownership properties for repairs for 10 years. I don't know if anyone's read anything about that or had any information about that, what their thoughts are, you know, the cost involved, that kind of thing, if anyone's got anything they wanted to share.
I think it's with our leadership team at the moment, and that's where it is. You know, they're looking at it. They're obviously up to speed with what's come out, and it's where we'll end up taking obviously just guidance from them, and they haven't come back with anything more. They've literally just said it's something that we will be looking into to see if it's for us. I think it's that kind of new, isn't it?
Yeah, I just wondered if anyone really had any thoughts on, you know, 'cause obviously it will probably become a more attractive way to purchase a house if you've got your 10 years maintenance included. And we do often have a lot of, I wouldn't say complaints, but queries from shared owners really not really understanding their responsibilities in terms of repairs, which I'm sure everyone else probably does as well. And I think it will probably become more attractive, but it's where that cost will lie, and how that's going to work really, because it will be a cost implication to the organisation unless it's going to be built into the lease.
I have not really seen this report. Do you have them? Can you have you got the link into this report, please, at all? Or anyone can refer me to it?
I'll try and find it for you afterwards, Eunice.
Yeah, thank you. I think the concern with this one, I don't think we cannot vary the lease in terms of, especially talking about internal repairs. And I don't think organizations are going to have the resources to deal with this. I mean, we are overstretched dealing with communal repairs, let alone internal repairs. So this have to take some really great consideration to implement. And I don't think the government can force the housing sector to implement these into the lease, given the fact that I don't think anyone have the resources for it.
I think it will only be new properties being built. It won't be any current properties.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, even with new build, as you know, you've got a defect period for 12 months, and you know during that 12 months a lot can happen.
Yeah.
And given that extra 9 years, it's quite extremely really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there'll be some clarity in terms of what will make up a repair. You know, and I would like to hope that there will be more guidance on the types of repairs, and that it won't be a kind of free-for-all. But
that's right.
Who knows?
Get your boiler done in your 9th year or something. Your boiler
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of you are party to the WhatsApp leasehold group, but there was a conversation on there about this a couple of weeks ago. Somebody asked a question, basically, that if landlords of new shared ownership have got to take on repair and maintenance liabilities for 10 years, would this represent a significant change for you? I think the answer is yes. And would it come at quite a cost to you as a landlord? Well, I think yes. Repairs and maintenance for 10 years, and you're going to have to build the cost of that into your product.
Share cost.
Yeah, and that's going to impact on sales possibly. Having said that, I'm just running through the replies here. Having said that, someone said, this could be a real sales pitch for the product. you don't have to, as a shared owner, you don't have to carry out any repairs for the first 10 years. I mean, that's quite a bonus, but it is going to come at a cost, obviously. Somebody else said, I think this must have been Jackie Dickens. Yes, I agree it would assist sales. It might assist in making asset management teams smart enough and ensure that the components and installations have longevity rather than taking handover of any old rubbish. But there would have to be a cost v benefit, i.e. getting off the shelf cost calculation. In the first 10 years, you would hope repairs would be minimal, certainly not big ticket items such as roofs or windows. So I think, yes, the answer is it's going to be a significant thing to consider, but might help with sales. Right, while I'm on that subject, if any of you are not on the Leasehold Group WhatsApp, if you email HQN, they'll allow you
Josie's going to send something out.
Sorry?
Josie's just said she's going to send something out.
Yeah, I'll send out the. You need to just agree to a privacy notice to join it, but I'll send it out after the meeting.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Josie.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I would recommend anybody that's not on it to register for it, and then you could just ask a question at any time and get a selection of responses.
Fantastic.
It's a very useful tool, I think. Sorry, was somebody about to say something?
I think it was me, but then I forgot.
Okay, come on, we've got a bit of time left. Has anybody got anything else they'd like to raise? Speak now or forever hold your peace. No?
I'm just quite surprised that no one has mentioned anything about in terms of the cladding situation with if they encounter any issues with the managing agent. I mean, has anyone at all got anything to say about that?
Well, somebody must.
And whether have you been chasing the managing agent for applying to the building safety fund? Because I've been doing that a lot.
Anybody else got any experience of that? No? Well, your answer there, Eunice, is no.
Thank you.
Right. You've got an opportunity now to ask a question or put forward something, because if I don't get anything else, I'm just going to wind it up now. If there's nothing coming. Stacey, can I ask a question regarding DLO and charge for leaseholders? Yes, of course you can. Fire away.
Hi, John. I just wanted to ask you. I'm from Leicester City Council, and at the moment we carry out everything's for our leaseholders. But what we're trying to do is incorporate DSO within our service charge elements, and I'm unsure how to do that. I've spoken with a few various different people and have been advised of the TCAL principles. Now, I've spoke to our legal team, and unfortunately they can't offer me much information, and I just wanted to pick your brains, or anybody else's brains really, as to whether or not they actually combine DSO services in with service charges for leaseholders.
Anybody? So let me just clarify. You're talking about your direct labour organisation carrying out works on buildings, yeah, including those charges, yeah? I don't...
Basically, what we're doing is we provide kind of like services for our leaseholders in relation to district heating, repairs, and sort of anything that we are responsible for. But we're mindful of the planned communal repairs and things like that that we also do, that are carried out by our DSO. The work that they do can sometimes instigate a charge of over £250, but I'm mindful that our DLO is an operation under a Section 20 and it's in-house. So if we're doing those works for like program plan maintenance and everything, how can we make sure that we're charging the correct amount without the organisation being under a Section 20?
I mean, personally, I'm just looking at DLO works. I never really come across DLO work actually triggering Section 20 over 50. I mean, are you talking about like a small block or 4 or?
It can vary. Our stock varies across the city really, but ordinarily we have buildings that are masonettes within a block on top of each other, and we'll go in and do, for instance, the PIR work for the electrical works and things like that. And sometimes when we do them in-house, it can come to X amount of thousands of pounds. Should we be capping that charge because our DLO isn't under a Section 20, or can we charge the correct amount to our leaseholders?
I mean, surely whatever you're charging your leaseholders, you should, if it's going to go for a job, if it's going to go over 250, you should do Section 20.
Okay.
Whoever is providing that service.
Okay.
Unless it's an emergency, if an emergency work needs to be done, you go for dispensation.
Yeah.
But if we put our DLO under a Section 20, if we do that, are we putting our workforce at risk?
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean when you say if we put our DLO under Section 20.
Because, like, say for instance, if we're doing like a PIR reprogram in a block, and that comes to say £6,000.
Yeah.
We've only got sort of 6 leaseholders, so that would make it £1,000 each. But because we're not Section 20'd, we don't charge them that full amount. I'm wondering whether or not, do we need Section 20 or DLO, or can we apply the TICO principles?
I would just, if that was, I mean, we have an in-house repairs team.
Okay.
And, you know, and I'm always having to try and educate them to say that if you're doing a piece of work where you're expecting us to recover over £250, you have to let me know so that I can serve notice, or like Eunice says, go for dispensation. Otherwise, I have to cap it at 250, and you have to take the loss.
Yeah, that's what we're doing at the minute. Is there any way around that? Or because my thoughts are that if we send the DLO and put that under a Section 20, and then somebody nominates us differently, would that put our workforce at risk if somebody, say a leaseholder, then came in with an external contractor that could do that work that our DLO would be proposing to carry out?
Well, I don't think you have to have a long-term agreement with your in-house team, do you?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm unsure.
No, you don't have to. John, come in there. Tell me if I'm right or wrong.
No, you don't.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel much the same as Angela. I'd expect if the DLO are going to be doing work that's over the consultation limit, I'd want to see that we go out to the market. I mean, are you telling us that your DLO aren't competitive?
No. well, they are, but basically what they'll do is they'll pass out some work to contractors, and then they'll do a lot of the work in-house. Now, of the contractor work, that's gone under a Section 20, and we do recover our costs for that. But on the occasions where our DLO will go in and do the work, we're limited because we can only charge the 250.
Yeah. Start serving those notices to recover your money. I think that's the answer.
Okay, thank you.
I wouldn't like to try and defend the DLO being uncompetitive at a tribunal. So I think
No.
You know, capping everything at 250 isn't the answer. I mean, you're losing money left, right.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
No, and don't forget, you don't always have to accept the lowest tender. I mean, the DLO might well come in higher than somebody else, but they might score higher on quality.
Yeah.
As long as you've got an objective way of assessing
Okay.
the tenders.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Where are we going? No more questions on the chat. Anybody else? Come on, last call. Okay, so we'll finish half an hour early. Thanks everybody for attending, and thanks a lot to the people in the top row for your contributions. Yes, you're a star, Angela. I don't think there are any other events coming up shortly, but presumably be a round of.
We've got one on Tuesday, I think. There's
Sorry?
another HQN on Tuesday.
We've got the last leasehold network best practice group.
Oh, the other workshop, yeah, which I think Helen is doing. Okay, so thanks very much, and I'll see you all at some time in the future.
Lovely.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.